Yo, what's going on, guys? Jared here. Today we're going to be talking about Dark World. This is a deck that can take advantage of the fact that Droll and Lockbird is not being played in the current Snake Eye, Tempai, was a Voiceless Voice format that we are currently in. This format is pretty defined. This is obviously before all of the new sets that are coming out before our national season in the US. So right now, I think Dark World is actually in a pretty good place, and this is strictly because Bystials are not seeing too much play. They're in the format, but not like too much. And Droll Lockbird is at an all-time low. And Droll is the card where it really puts this deck down. If it's in the format, you are just not making it like enough rounds to be able to get through it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into a Dark World profile and talk about why this deck is so strong. I would just like to preface before we jump into the list that I made that I took some inspiration from the top 32 Rio list that just happened. Check out this video here by Bruno Faria. You can look this up, just look up top 32 YCS Rio 2024, and you can find this list very easily. This is the list, and he goes over his explanations and stuff like that. So again, I took inspiration and some ideas from it, but I did not take the full list. Our lists are very different. So just something I wanted to mention before going into the actual profile itself. Okay, now this is my list. This is what I have been playing. This is what I have been enjoying, and it is very fun because a lot of decks can just not handle this. It is too much hand effects, and you're just throwing free bodies on the field. You are able to pick apart boards, and you are able to just OTK, rip their hand, and just play solitaire and just be able to go. So let's go ahead, jump into the card by card, and I can explain some of my choices here that we are obviously going to this monstrosity of a solitaire deck. So first off, we have 3 copies of Genta, 1 Cerulli, 2 Silva, 3 Snow, 1 Zephyros, 3 Bigfoot, 2 Chupacabra, 2 Mothman, 3 Nessie, 1 Thunderbird, 1 Jackalope, 1 Tuchinoko, 2 Grapha, 2 Rainbow, 1 Ascension, 2 Gates, 2 Dark Corridor, 2 Allure, 1 Card Destruction, 1 Dark World Archives, 3 Upstart Goblin, and 1 Triple Tactics Talent. For the extra deck, we have 2 of the Grapha Fusion, 1 Coach King Giant Trainer, 1 copy of Dugaras, 1 Zombie Vampire, 1 Secure Dragon, 1 Dark Charmer, 1 Haggard Lactose, 1 copy of Akashic Magician, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Phoenix, Muckraker of the Underworld, Axis Code Talker, Saryuja, and Appaloosa. And then for a side deck that I've been using on Dueling Book at least is 3 Jinzo, 3 Radiant, 3 Darkhold Puppetry, 3 Magical Spring, and 3 Skill Drain. This is it for the list itself. But for actual card choices, you might be surprised by some of the ratios in here and the differences from my list from the Rio list. The Rio list, in my opinion, I think was going off of a more standardized playstyle of like a deck, right? It wasn't going for like a big go through your entire deck. You're just getting a lot of card advantage very quickly, getting the card effects that you need to resolve very quickly so you can set up the fusion spell twice, Grapha Pops, being able to get to the rank 3, the Gossip Shadow as another form of interruption. They're also playing the fusion substitute card, so you're able to fusion sub for both of the Darkhold fusions that you can make, the Rainbow fusion as well. And it's a very limited danger package. In my list, I'm going for full combo. I'm going through my entire deck. I have decked out in this deck before. It is crazy how far this deck can go. And that is also explains some of the ratios. Like in his deck, he is playing 3 copies of Dark Corridor. I am playing 2 copies of Dark Corridor. And the reason for that is, 1, this card is extremely powerful, so I do want to draw it, but at the same time, I don't want to draw 2 of it too early, because if I draw 2 of it, I cannot use the second copy. This also applies to something like Dark World Ascension, Cerulli, Talents, all these cards I don't want to see multiples of. Dark World Archives, like all these cards are extremely powerful, but if you draw too many of them, they don't do anything. Even Zephyros being in here, being able to bounce gates of the Dark World is extremely strong. Also, you can bounce back Danger Monsters, which I think is a cute little bonus that you were able to do. And yeah, so obviously the rank 4 package is very nice with the dangers. I am super heavy on dangers here. Being able to just randomly discard and put free bodies on the board is always good, but you want to be able to use those bodies into actual value. And the best cards that you can do that for Dark World are the ones that usually draw or can discard, so it's either or. And the ones that we are using is Dugaras, very obvious, 2 level 4s to draw 2 discard. That is so broken in this deck, being able to do that. Coach King, if you get 3 level 8s on the field, just draw 3. That usually is like guaranteed you're going to be able to keep going. Zombie Vampire is the mill, and you can like mill off like Rainbows or Grafas or maybe the spell. But it's overall, it's like a nice little free extender that you have a nice option for. Security Dragon, Akashic are in here for the combo with Ceruli and Silva, being able to bounce it back so that you can rip your entire opponent's hand. Dark just has a Link 2 extender, nothing really too crazy there. The Nightmare monsters are just Fiend monsters to help break boards, because I think it's very important that you have that option. Muckraker is so broken in this deck. Again, special back and discard, so crazy. And the thing I want to talk about now is actually Haggard Lizardos. I'm never going to pronounce this card correctly, but this is one of the TCG exclusive cards that I think is really interesting, where it's generic, first of all, and you can banish a monster from your field or graveyard with 2,000 or less attack, target a face-up monster in the field, make its attack become equal to the original attack of the monster banished, and then if you banish a reptile, draw a card. Well, first of all, you can banish itself. So itself could give, if you have 3 bodies in the field, you can convert those into back down to 1 body to get an extra draw. If you like already went through a lot of the stuff that you need to get through, like the Dugaras or Saryuja or anything like that, if you're in a pinch, you can be able to do that. But another thing you can do is when you get to Dangerous Tsuchinoko, and you're probably thinking, how often is that going to happen? Well, between Nessie and Jackalope, Tsuchinoko is actually pretty easy to get to. You'd be very surprised at how often this is just alive in the graveyard or on the field sitting. Once you do this, it makes a Link 2 to be able to just get a free draw for pretty much nothing, right? You are able to just get it for free, and then from there, you're able to convert this into something else, maybe like an access code or an Appaloosa, depending on the line you are trying to go for. But it's just a nice little free draw that you have, and I think that's something that's worth mentioning. Upstart Goblin is free to me. I don't think this is like ever a bad idea, especially in a deck like this where you're just saying like Droll is not real. This is just very, very strong. Allure Darkness, on the other hand, there has been times where this does not feel great. Sometimes you just cannot get this through and you just draw very poorly. I had another list earlier that had Trade-In and Lava Golem in it and 3 Allure, and it just like was really good sometimes, but it was really bad other times. And just times where it was bad, man, it just felt like it was just so unlucky and it would drive me nuts. But I think this list is definitely more consistent, can definitely push through a lot more, especially without those types of cards, because, you know, you could just draw the wrong pieces and they don't do anything together. Obviously, missing with Danger sucks, but this mitigates it just a little bit more, just being able to, you know, have so many so they can trigger each other, which is very nice. Side deck-wise, Jinzo, Labyrinth, Radiant is just for any of those like cheese strategies. Also for like Appaloosa, any decks that are doing that, you just be able to just right over it, and you can still normal summon after, which is very nice. That's the only card you really care about. Dark World Puppetry, this is just such a good card. Like for like actual matchups where you're trying to play, to be able to do a triple DD Crow and discard, it is so broken, and it also has a secondary effect to even add back later. Even though you, oh god, this card's just so broken. Like in the right matchups, this card's insane. Magical Spring, this is a card that I actually didn't think I was ever going to play again until now. So between both Voiceless Voice and Snake Eye putting up the spell and traps that are in their back row, things like IP, Flameberg's Dragon, the field spell, anything like that. A lot of times they have like Poplars that are sitting on there. There is a lot of cards where you could just draw like 3 cards off Magical Spring, and it is insane that you can do that. 1 card draw 3 is absolutely nuts. And then being able to discard 2, because it is a part of the effect, so you are actually able to discard as well and trigger your Dark World effects off of this. That is so broken. And then against Voiceless, you are able to use this to turn off their trap card that destroys. So if you use this, they cannot use the trap to destroy itself in your cards. That effect is just now null and void. So it is also technically a way to draw and extend and turn off a form of interruption from your opponent. So something to keep in mind, and it's very, very strong. Specifically in this deck, I think it excels even way harder. And lastly, Skill Drain. I think Skill Drain is a card that could also be in the main deck because it just kind of beats everything. There's not really a deck where like you flip this and you're like, ah, damn, like the Dark World player is going to lose to my own Skill Drain. Like, no, that's not going to happen. You're able to put out monsters that are just ginormous, like 3,300 attack monsters, 3,000 attack monsters consistently. So I would not be worried about Skill Drain. All your effects trigger in the hand and graveyard, so you are able to just like still pop stuff with dangers and whatnot. So very, very strong card. I think you could main deck this card and be completely fine, but for now it's in the side deck just as something you don't want to break into, because game 1 you want to just try to rip their hand and just call it a day and not have to worry about it. But yeah, so overall that is going to be it for the Dark World profile. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear them, and any suggestions as well, because Dark World is a deck where you can play a lot of different stuff in, but this is what I'm enjoying on the ladder, just cruising through. It's been very fun. So again, let me know what you think down below. below. Please subscribe if you enjoyed, and until then, I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.